Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the true, holy, and powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Bahasham, meaning of the name. Yahweh Shai is the true, holy, and powerful name of His only begotten Son, who is the Savior of the nation of Israel. Starting off with the elect within the nation of Israel. And Israel consists of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as well as you Israelite foreigners scattered abroad that may look like the nations where you've been scattered to, but are Israelites. And I also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect pushing out this word in all sincerity and in truth. All right, this is Brother Call from the GMS branch out in Des Moines, Iowa, coming back at you with another morning Hagayawan inspired by the Holy Spirit, Hagayawan. And I actually tried doing this lesson a couple of times on Friday morning. I prayed into the Lord, and what I'm gonna speak on is a testimony, through the Spirit. And it's I told a couple brothers about this whole situation, but I never spoke about it openly. And I was just pressing on my spirit as of recently, but I tried doing it a couple times and it just wasn't coming out right. And I prayed to the Lord. I was like, Lord, I know you got this in my spirit to speak on, and and so on and so forth. And I just pray that if it is if you are putting this on my spirit for me to speak on this openly, that it just be edifying. But it just wasn't coming out right, so but I realized why afterwards, because the very next day, all right, my woman, she told me about a testimony, that adds to the whole point of the story, and now, I'm gonna just speak on it. All right, so let's grab this in the book of Colossians, the 3rd chapter, to start off. It's going to be a little bit unorthodox. I'm going to just really be speaking on this testimony, so I won't bring in too many precepts. I may quote a couple, but I just pray it's edifying, man. But Colossians 3:25, but he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons. All right, so that's man and woman. All right, you do wrong. All right, the Lord is going to judge. Okay, that's just what it is. All right, and the Lord has mercy upon whom he has mercy. All right, he'll have compassion upon whom he has compassion. And there's individuals that we ourselves may want to have compassion on, all right, or that we show compassion to, all right, and the Lord is still going to judge them, all right. The Lord is still going to punish them, so it's all in the hands of the Lord, all right. So I'm gonna speak about an account of a woman that I used to deal with, all right. So I had a wife, or I have a wife, that came in. I came into the faith with. I've had other women that I've dealt with, but this other woman, she said, I met her, I'm not the type to go and tell every, woman I meet what I'm into and everything like that and so on and so forth. But, the Spirit kind of was just on me. It just kind of came out, to where I started talking to this woman and, started talking about, the truth and everything like that. And she, quote unquote, says she believed, right? So fast forward. The chick, I told her, if you really believe this is what it is, she knew about my other chick, it wasn't a big deal. And, off the bam, long story short, Shorty ended up committing adultery, and the Lord judged her. All right. The Lord judged her. And what the Lord did was he gave her cancer. All right. And then not only did he give her cancer, she found out that she got cancer the week of the Passover. All right. And shortly after that, after the week of the Passover, when she found out she had cancer, then because of that cancer, she found out that she had to get her breast chopped off. All right. And I even told her, I was like, yeah, them same breasts you let somebody else squeeze is the same ones the Lord had get chopped off. You getting judged. All right. Told her straight up. And at this point, I was still in communication with her because me and my simplicity, all right, a mistake of a young man, and I'm still a young man, so I'll still make mistakes, obviously, but I had cut her off when I found out the Spirit revealed to me, that she had committed adultery, and then she ended up confessing to it, and I was like, oh, yep, and I cut her off. But after I cut her off, probably had to be like a year later, and she had been blowing up my phone, texting me like each and every day, sending me videos, I'm sorry, and woo off the bam, doing all that, So part of me is like, damn, man, I don't know too many women that'll sit there and blow your phone up and, to that degree every day for over a year. I'm like, shit. So I'm thinking, I'm like, man, maybe she, really believe, and maybe the Lord, may have mercy on her. But, so I was kind of betwixt about the whole situation. about how to move forward. Like, damn, should I show mercy or not, or whatever the case it may be. So, but me and my simplicity, she had been blowing me up. It was probably about a year. No, I don't know. I might be off on my timing, but a year after I had cut her off from that, before, she found out that she had cancer, because she found out she had cancer probably about a year later, so it was around this time when I got back dealing with her. I got hot one night and ended up cracking her. I got hot one night and she had been blowing me up. She caught me at the right time, and then shit, nigga got hot, went down, it did what it did, so then after that I'm like, well, fuck, I done dipped into this, and she believes, so it's like, fuck, I kind of got to deal. And that was my reasoning at that time. With the whole situation. So, I'll start back communicating with her. And then that was a little bit before the Passover, not last year, not this past one, but the year before that. So ended up talking to her, and then that's when she was telling me about the cancer and woo off the bam. And then I was honestly, looking back, and the Spirit showed me that, like, I was coddling her through her judgment, and she needed to just sit in that fire. The scripture says in the book of Sirach, a horse not broken becometh headstrong. The Lord was breaking her, all right, and it was like I was trying to put band-aids on her. It was like, nah, sit your ass in that fire, so hey, as the big bro capo say, that shit is soft. So shit, in that situation, like, looking back, I was being soft. She was supposed to deal with that, but the Lord put the Spirit on me, shortly after, she had to get her breast amputated and everything like that. The Spirit, the Spirit was on me like, nah, something not right. Like, don't talk to her and everything like that. Let her sit in that fire, deal with that judgment. Don't talk to her, right? So after that, she had to deal with that shit. And she had to deal with almost planning her own funeral. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was catching pure hell. The Lord's hand was upon her, right? So that happened. Now, even after all of that, I was considering having mercy, right? So probably about a month and a half ago, I had prayed to the Lord. It was a lot of videos I was going out, on Isaiah 4:1. I had prayed to the Lord that I accept who he wants me to accept and reject who he wants me to reject. I had prayed that to the Lord, and then even she was on my mind. Now, I hadn't been talking to her, right? So long story short, the Spirit was on me to go and see her, like, get her feel of her spirit, go and see her. It was kind of pressing on me. I asked for counsel and everything like that. It was pressing on me. I ended up making the decision to go see her. And on the way there, the Spirit told me, ask for her phone. And that was going to be the determining factor on if I was going to have mercy on her or not. So I went over there, asked her, what have you learned since, we haven't been talking, why she want to be with me? I'm just kind of getting the feel for her spirit. So then the Spirit tells me to ask for her phone. And then when I asked for her face, like, her countenance changed. And I was like, oh, yes, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. So her countenance changed. And then I was like, did you hear me? I said, let me see your phone. And then she was like, well, no, I got messages from my family. And I'm like, all right, well, if you don't let me see your phone, bullshit. Women just be saying bullshit, lying. So I was like, well, if you don't let me see your phone, I'm going to walk out this door, and that's going to be a wrap. And she didn't. So I walked out the door, and it was a wrap. And the Lord brought more judgment upon her. And I'm laughing at it because, I'm just laughing because it's part of it is like, look, people don't realize that this isn't a game, okay? This isn't Christianity. This isn't Jesus. Like, the Lord will fuck you up, all right? And for you to get fucked up the way that she did and still be tripping, it's like, the Lord, you're just gonna get judged, So anyways, now the reason I said at the beginning of this lesson, it was the Spirit that I didn't get that lesson out on Friday speaking about this, is because the very next morning, Saturday, my woman, she had got a call from her because they would be in communication from time to time, and talking, and, she'll be kind of encouraging her or whatever. I'm like, I ain't talking to her, but it was all the Spirit that she still was in communication just for me to even speak on this, because I ended up blocking the bitch after I had seen her. I was like, yep, that was a wrap. That was the Spirit telling me. I prayed to the Lord to reject who I needed to reject. the Lord told me to ask for a phone. I felt that in my spirit. So that was her getting rejected, and she didn't give it to me. So that's just what it is. So my woman says that, yeah, she had heard from so-and-so, and, she was shook. Like, she came into the room, and when she got up, she was like, hey, I talked to so-and-so, and I saw it in her countenance. Like, she was shook. And what the Lord did was, she was like, homegirl told her that she had been in the hospital since last Wednesday. She said, it just came out of nowhere. She was doing fine. Everything was like, she was feeling fine. Then all of a sudden, her feet started turning blue. Her face started to swell up. Her eyes started turning yellow. She started feeling bad, all types of pain. She had to call her father to take her to the hospital, and they went to the hospital, said her blood pressure was high, we're saying this and that and the third. And then she was like, and my woman, she was saying, she was hearing it, and she was like scared. She was scared. She was like, oh shit. Like, she knew that, the Lord was putting it on her, because I had told her about the conversation that I had with her. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a wrap. The Lord told me to ask her that, and that was going to be the determining factor, So I said all this to say this. There was a lot of lessons that I learned in that, that molded me, dealing with that over the years. But the Lord, man, the Lord sees what we're going through. All right. And once again, just like this Colossians says, man, I'll read it one more time. Colossians 3:25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons. Let me go ahead and grab this in the book of Micah. All right. Because the Lord avenged me. And even in that, once again, like I pulled the judges on her, like the Levite priest, his woman committed adultery. He went back, to go to go get her, because he cared about her. Right. And even in that situation, like in my simplicity, I'm being soft. I mean, you have mercy. A man in his maid. I'll put it like that, man. You can have mercy upon whom you have mercy, but you better believe the spirit that the Lord put on me, even going through that experience and everything like that. Like, I have a callous, like a certain callous that the Lord put on my spirit, towards, women in general. A lot of these women in general, to reject, and not just tolerate shit. It's different red flags. Like, looking back, that I wouldn't even have dealt. I wouldn't even have dealt with her, after seeing certain things or whatever the case it may be. But, we live and we learn. You know what I'm saying? We live and we learn, man. The Lord takes us through things, and sometimes you got to learn these lessons the hard way, But this is the book of Micah, chapter 7, and verse Micah chapter 7 and verse 9, it says, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I've sinned against him until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. Right. And that's what the Lord does. All right. He executes judgment for us, man. See, it was another testimony. Just briefly, I'll speak on this guy that I used to work with. All right. I fully believe he's an Edomite. OK. It looks like a so-called white person, but, I believe he's an Edomite anyways. And dude was just giving me hell, man. Just asshole. Just, and he was just vile, as an Edomite. They got them sodomite jokes they like to, pull at work and everything like that. But one day the bros came to my spot, had a couple drinks and everything like that. And they ended up getting into an altercation with this dude that I work with, the same dude, right? So the spirit had it to where we ended up putting curses on this dude. Okay. And we don't just be throwing up curses on anybody specifically unless it's really warranted. Okay, I could probably count on one hand. I'm trying to even think of like 3 examples of when, as a body, we put up curses on a specific person, all right, on the behalf of a, situation or a brother or whatever the case it may be, But anyway, so we ended up having to put up curses on him. Probably about a month and a half later, after we put up curses on this dude, he was the assistant manager at the job that I was at. And the spirit had it to, because he was the assistant manager, he would get a weekly bonus pay, helping out the manager, with different things that, she needed to get done. So they took away his bonus pay and they gave it to me. And not only did they give it to me, he was working at another job. He left the job that he was at with me, so got him out of my hair. And then the other job that he went to, they ended up shutting down. Okay. They ended up shutting down, man. So took his bonus pay, gave it to me, and then shut his job down, Like the Lord, man, the Lord be moving, okay? The Lord be moving, man. All we need to do is continue to serve the Lord, and he will avenge us and execute judgment for us. Brothers deal with different shit with women, and I've dealt with certain things with women, man. And one thing I know is that the Lord, he just don't play. All right, he don't play. He just don't play. Like that's the best. That's what's in my spirit just to say right now, man. He does not play. There's times where it's like I've told my woman something, and she didn't listen. The Lord will just judge her the next day. Just judge her the next day or whatever the case may be. And certain times, it ain't like that, but the Lord sees these different things, man. The Lord sees these different things, and everything will be taken care of in due time, man. Just continue to operate in the spirit, trust and believe in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Continue to serve the Lord and let him deal with everything else, man. But I'm gonna finish this verse. It says, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I've sinned against him until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, right? And even in that, from how my shorty was telling me, old girl was, she was like, she was scared, man, and this and that and the third. And once again, she should say she believe and knowing the truth, and it's like, or know the truth and everything like that. But but it's like, it's one thing to say you believe, and it's another thing to move in the fear of the Lord. All right. A motherfucker say, yeah, I believe, but then they won't walk in the fear of the Lord. People get judged and, still don't move in the fear of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So, it's we just need to make sure we're doing what we need to do, and the Lord is going to take care of everything else, man. All right. And even looking back, I was impartial in my judgment because of wanting to, show mercy, wanting to show mercy. And in that, I became impartial in judgment. There were certain things that I look back on that, like I said, that I noticed and I winked at that I shouldn't have winked at, or noticed that the Spirit was alerting me to that I overlooked, or not even, overlooked because I recognized it. But I'm like, I was just being too soft, just to be plain. I was being too soft, the Spirit was been telling me like, yeah, nah, she, let that bitch, let that bitch, deal with what she need to deal with, or let her go. You know what I'm saying? But it says, then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and the shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy power? Mine eyes shall behold her, and now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets, right? And these different people, man, they're going to see, and they're going to behold, the reward of the righteous, the reward of the godly, those that serve the Lord, and they're going to be in great regret, all right? Great regret for how they've treated, his servants. They're going to be in great regret of, denying this mercy, forsaking their own mercy that was extended to them through these words, these instructions, because the instructions that were given, man, it's the avenue to receive salvation. It's the avenue to receive mercy, like the instructions that I was given, her in this example, the instructions that I was giving her, and, things that I told her, if she would have literally taken heed to it, really moved in that fear, then she wouldn't have been in the position that she's in, but she didn't, she didn't. All right. She didn't move in the fear of the Lord. And now the Lord is terrorizing her. All right. Now the Lord is really bringing real fear upon her after already doing it. So, it just is what it is, man. And I'm not batting the eye over it. I have a very callous spirit, with the whole situation, and I'm giving praises to the Lord. Call all you like Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, so, I had an intent, wanted to show mercy, but hey, the Lord revealed that, he was going to do what he wants to do, as he always will, so we can pray and cry out to the Lord and hope. But sometimes the Lord's plans, he's like, nah, I got something else in store. Hey, and call all you like Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So, hey, you brothers, man, the Lord will avenge you. All right, of your enemies, okay? Yahweh Shai, he's going to get vengeance on all his enemies, and he's going to deal with those that have crossed his servants as well, man. You had those that slayed the prophets. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that killed the prophets. These people aren't escaping. All right, they aren't going to get away with these different things, man. These women with their behavior, they're not going to get away. And not only are they not going to get away, but the Lord is going to allow them, like even with her, like she was begging, she was begging. It seemed like it, I mean, she was, but it wasn't enough, The Lord was like, nah, and it's going to be a lot of people that are going to be begging. And the time when all hell is breaking out loose and wanting deliverance, as the scripture says, when they cry, as I cried and they would not hear, so they cried and I would not hear, So they're going to be crying out to the Lord, please. It was like, nah, all right. And the Lord's just going to be like, nah, you're just going to deal with that judgment and that wrath. So, maybe we stay in the spirit, man. Maybe we stay in the spirit, moving in the fear of the Lord, so we don't have to be on the other side of his wrath. All right, because the motherfucker, man, they'll act like they tough. They'll operate in a way as if they think that they can just deal with the wrath of the Lord and nothing's going to happen. In the book of Amos, it says, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. People don't realize they're dealing with the king of terrors, man. That the Lord will bring punishments upon you to where it's like you're not going to be able to bear that, You ain't gonna be able to bear that, or you ain't gonna be that tough, or just think that, nah, the Lord will bring you to your knees and make you beg and still say no. All right. In his anger. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna end it right there through the spirit. Salaki, I know, I didn't pull too many precepts, but it was just a testimony, which I really hope, it does, it is edifying. I just want to be telling these different stories for, just to be talking. It's just an experience, and the spirit was on me to speak on it. So, I hope it was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hope of the elect, pushing out this word in all sincerity and the truth. With that, I'm going to say shalom.